Hey, what's up, everybody? Artie here, Artie Shepherd from St. Vitus Bar and various other endeavors. Um, I am here tonight to hang out with a very old friend and somebody who I envy very much, or should I appreciate very much as a songwriter, um, and as a friend, and as somebody who I don't know, just kind of does whatever the fuck he wants whenever he wants, and it's always fucking good. And that's a lot to be said. I believe we have Jeff Caudill from Gameface.
Live. I didn't get to do much of an intro, but that's okay. We'll do what we can. At least it works. Hey!
Hey, what's
up, buddy?
up?
What's up, bro?
We're a couple of hair pirates.
I hide mine away most of the time.
I knew I was going to be on camera today, so I made sure and took the bun out, my work bun.
The work bun, yes.
Yeah.
I call it the humidity bun because it's fucking brutal constantly. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really hot by you, right?
That too. It's probably very flammable, so it's good to keep it up. Yeah.
Oh, did you feel that 120-degree heat? Was that
It was gnarly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been better, less, but it still feels like it's something is laying down on us. It's not great.
it's COVID heat?
Yeah.
Right. It's just like, hey, why the fuck not, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited to see what's next. Like, what could be, what other characters can they introduce in this series?
Seriously, I think somebody should put a comic book or like a graphic novel together, like with the metaphors of 2020 and little characters that represent the disease, the really bad disease, the asymptomatic disease.
Totally. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's pretty fucking biblical, really. And I'm bummed we skipped over the murder hornets and whatever the other thing that we were supposed to be afraid of, but they're just one after the other.
The fucking murder hornets, man! I forgot about them.
And I
It feels like years ago.
Yeah.
There's an air conditioner going off in here. Is it? Do you hear it, or is it? Should I move? No. All right, good.
You're good. I'm out in the garage, so it's hot, but it's more quiet.
Okay, yeah, that's why I'm upstairs at my wife's store because the Wi-Fi is good and it's usually quiet, but I didn't realize that the AC would go on up here. Anyway, it'll turn off in a sec. So how you doing, buddy?
Right.
What's going on, man? Like, how's your family? How's life?
Pretty good. I mean, aside from the existential dread and all that, I have to say, like, me and my small little world, my family, we have it pretty good. Like, I work at home. My kid she's a junior in high school, and she's doing online school. She's very good. She's a very good student, so we're not really worried about that. It's like she's taking junior college classes right now. It just feels like that. She'll have like a Zoom twice a week, and then and we just trust that she's taking care of business, and
Yeah.
she is. And also my wife, Kirby's a school teacher. Well, she was a school teacher, so she's got like an in-house tutor for a lot of that stuff. So we've got it pretty handled. I feel very fortunate, and I feel, I it's not lost on me how fortunate we are.
Right. Oh yeah.
Our little insulated world, because not everyone is having the kind of time we are.
No, I mean it's great that you're set up like that. I mean it doesn't make me like, oh, he has it and other people don't. It's like, good, somebody's doing okay. That's good. I think the mental effects of this are really like, I have high blood pressure now, thanks to COVID. I own two alcohol establishments, so it's not easy. But
I may have diabetes, so that's cool. But but that
I think I got that too. Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
But do your feet ache?
Yeah. I don't have the feet thing, but I do remember I think that we might have been with, yeah, it was after Japan, and we were with you guys, like, because when we played those couple shows in California, I think I was complaining about like a foot, like I was either complaining about it in Japan or to you guys, but I do remember around that time I was freaked out because I thought I had something weird, some sort of numbness in my toes and whatever, but that's gone away somehow.
It could have been the gout. The starting of the gout,
maybe.
You know, you were on tour.
May as well. Yeah, bring it on.
All right. So beyond all the physical ailments that us old guys have, so usually what I do with these interviews is I go back to the beginning of the band and kind of just discuss, you know, how you guys got started. 1990, 1991, right?
Yeah.
30 years ago.
I know. It's really, and a lot of the stuff I don't know if I remembered it right, so I'll try to just put my best. I'll try to paint it the best way I can, because a lot of it could be, like a lot of that could be gone from my memory as far as I know. But yeah, it was 1990. How far do you want me to go back? To the very beginning?
No, I mean, how'd you meet Todd?
Todd and I, we went to school together. We were in junior high together. And I met Todd I was really into metal in junior high. But the thing is, like, as you know, I'm a little bit of a softie, and I just couldn't hang with the metal crowd, like the true metal kids. And because I was friends with them, but I just something didn't really feel right. And Todd and I had a class together. And we started talking, like, he started trying to sell me on these other bands. Like, he was into like Generation X, and Billy Idol, and The Alarm, and a few others, a little bit, you know, alt rock or whatever.
New wave,
and I tried
maybe.
And I tried to say, hey, listen to the new Saxon record, or hey, listen to, you know, what you know, Judas Priest or whatever. And we sort of like kind of traded musical taste there, and then. Yeah, and then as junior high went on, we just kind of melded our musical taste together, and we kind of became our, you know, we became the crew, because I kind of gave up on trying to fit in with the metal kids.
So this is all in Orange County, right?
Yeah, this is Orange County, whatever that makes it, 1985 or 6 or something like that.
At what point does the hardcore scene and punk and all those other, because Orange County is very well known for, especially in the late 80s. When did that start? I mean, for thrash too, but yeah, I mean, no, Orange County not so much for thrash.
I was in 8th grade when, you know, in '86 or whatever, when things with, you know, Black Flag and all, you know, all that stuff was sort of, or, you know, they've not even been on the way out by then. Descendants and those types of, and I had no idea. We weren't even aware of those bands until we hit high school, so which would have made it 87. I went to my first punk show in 1987.
Okay.
And that was 7 Seconds with Verbal Assault, and MDC was the headliner, and that was like my first introduction to a real, like, you know, true punk scene. And then I started meeting people, you know, like we had met the guys in the band Hard Stance and Inside Out, and, you know, all the sort of straight edge stuff. Like, I was introduced to the OC, like the Social Distortion, Adolescence, DI, like all the sort of OC, more punk type stuff.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware of the hardcore thing just yet, until we started, like, me and Todd would sort of venture outside of high school, or outside of our high school, the other high school up the road, which, you know, Zach from Inside Out and Popeye from Far Side, like those guys went to that high school. So their high school had a little more, you know, like punk cred than ours. Ours is like the punkest we got was me and Todd's crappy band in high school.
So when did you guys start playing guitar? Were you always playing, or like?
I started playing. Well, I was always playing. You know, I was. I'm still not great, but I wasn't great. But I could write songs and stuff, and so that was happening all through Gameface. But I always just wanted to be a singer because I loved, you know, just all those punk bands that I used to watch, Descendants and 7 Seconds, and you know, all those groups that I admired. They just had a singer, so I was like, I'm just gonna sing because this is the band we want to be, you know. But I had always been writing on guitar, but I didn't start playing guitar with the band until just before, well, for the Every Last Time album, probably just before we, you know,
Just before we met, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not, it might have even been, Steve would probably know better because he remembers these things, but
He does.
it may have been the first tour I played guitar was with you guys.
No, it can't be. No way.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but with Gameface, I didn't. Yeah, like the
But you would
rehearse.
rehearse with the band with guitar, and you would record guitar on the records.
So sometimes, yeah, yeah. I wasn't like playing at rehearsals or anything. It would be like, hey, I wrote a song, and I'd show it to Todd, like, and then you take it, or we would be in the studio and I would say like, oh, hey, I have an idea. Let me just try this track. But I wasn't really trying to be a guitarist until,
right.
Until, and Steve says maybe 1997. It was like Steve joined the band. We did the Cupcakes EP, and that was, I know I was not playing guitar then, but it was following that, like that, the tour after that, maybe 97, 98, that's when, you know, I started playing guitar with the band and writing songs and writing like 2 parts for guitars, and, you know, like really having it be part of how the band operates.
So did you guys do a bunch of demos before 3 to Get Ready? And did you did you guys have demo tapes like circling around the scene and stuff, or?
Well, we did. Well, I mean, we had our first album, Good, which was,
oh, Good, right? Yeah, of course. Yeah,
93. But then, you know, not everyone knows this, but we had somewhat of a tragedy with our original drummer.
Well, I mean, you can tell it. It's you know, if you want to, you don't have to.
Well, I mean, most people know. Like, yeah, in '94, our drummer committed suicide. It was very, let's say, wrapped up in drug use and who knows. I mean, there's a lot of delusion happening and a lot of stuff that we really didn't even we didn't know what was going on. But he was a very tormented guy, and so he left us in '94, and so there was about a year where we didn't do anything, but I did, like, that was the year that I wrote a lot of songs. And I remember writing stuff on 4-track, and we had an album's worth of material, but with no drummer, and then not really knowing if we were going to. I mean, you know, we wanted to. We all agreed, like, hey, this is the best thing we could do to sort of like keep, you know, just to keep the memory of our friend, you know, kind of hold that in a higher esteem, and it just seemed like the thing to do, just to keep the band going. And so we had that. But as we were writing and as we were just kind of hanging out and figuring it out, the label Dr. Strange wrote me a letter, Bill from Dr. Strange, and it was very sweet. And he said, hey, I don't know first of all, sorry for your loss. I don't know what the deal is with the band, you know, what's going on with the band, but if and when you guys decide to continue, I would love to be a part of that, no matter, you know, what that looks like, putting out the record, like, you know, like whatever you guys need. If you guys need anything, let me know. And I thought that was really awesome. Yeah. And at the time, Dr. Strange, especially in our part of the world, it was a up and coming punk label, and it was definitely a diagonal step for us. And Bill was great. And so that was an awesome relationship. And Bill and I are like, actually all of us, we're all still friendly to this day. But yeah, he was a big reason why, or how the band continued on and sort of was able to kind of get over that.
Yeah, I mean that's a devastating story, and I'm sure you guys contemplated changing your name or doing something different, or not even like,
Yeah.
obviously you were writing, so that there was an outlet there that you wanted to do, but it's that sucks. But I mean, you came back, and is that when Steve joined? Was that at that point?
We had another guy, Phil.
Okay.
It was a guy from the scene who we at first thought it was going to be a great fit. It just ended up not working really well personality wise.
Right.
He was a great dude. He played, he was fun. And we did a couple tours with him. We did a very long tour of Europe, I think like a 8-week, like 16 countries, and like we used to do back in those days.
Totally. The
we
90s.
Did that,
yeah.
and we did a tour of the States, and after that, I guess it was after that was we all kind of knew it was pretty mutual. That was the end of Phil, and that's when we knew we had always kind of had our eye on Steve anyway. As you know, once you see him play, you kind of think you're marking that for later.
Yeah, he's also like he's a really good spirit. He's the type of guy you want to have in the rehearsal room with you. It's like it's cool
for sure.
And on tour. But yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like Steve kind of matched my energy and that kind of helped out, because you need a sort of a guiding force, and sometimes I don't want to always be that, and so it was nice to have another one. Another one of those in the band.
Yeah, that's great, man. So Steve joins the band. You guys do Cupcakes, the EP, and then did you guys tour a lot on that, or was it like just straight? I mean, it was a couple of years before every last time came out, right? From the Cupcakes EP.
Yeah.
Well, so your relationship with Dr. Strange ended at some point, and you joined Revelation.
Yeah. Our thinking was like, we had sort of fulfilled the Doctor Strange contract. It wasn't like a falling out or anything. We had done that. We put out our record and a couple of EPs, and we did all we were going to do. And then when Steve joined the band, or we finished up the Doctor Strange thing, but then as I started playing guitar and just the sort of outlook of the band got a little bit different. And for lack of a better way to explain it, we were like, hey, we are not a shorts wearing punk band anymore. We are a serious rock band. We have 2 guitars, and we just wanted to kind of like be a little more grown up. We wanted to kind of like look like grown ups, and that was at least the reasoning. And then with that, the music got a little more mature, I guess, and we went after Revelation, because it felt like that was.
So you weren't working there yet.
Nope.
You weren't working. No.
Okay.
So
wait. Well, yeah. It's
99 is when
I think
Every Last Time came out. You were definitely working there by 2000. So I think you were working there in 99.
Yeah. I may have started working there, maybe not before the record, but definitely after we had sort of figured out being on the label. I think so.
Right.
I think they happened kind of independently, but around the same time. Probably.
So I want to talk about your graphic design career a little later, because I find it very interesting, and I think you're incredible at it. But I also wanted to talk about your songwriting. So I really love your songwriting. I think it's great. Even when you guys did pop punk shit that I hate fucking pop punk, but like right. you guys always had a little different. You also sang in a way that wasn't far off from the way that I sang in Aerotype, which was way more upfront, way more of a rock voice at that point, at least. And one thing that really always got me, and I think we'll get into the tour we did together, which was one of the best fucking tours I ever did in my life. It was just more fun than people should really be allowed to have.
Right on.
I felt like one of the bonding moments that we had was very much what you guys had gone through, with the idea of people calling you not punk, people getting shitty because you didn't stay to this strict, you know, idea of what punk was. And we very much got that as well, because you know, we were a rock band from the beginning. You guys started becoming more of a rock band and from the punk scene. But the thing with that is that, like, doing what you want and playing what you want is being fucking punk. And that was always my problem with the whole thing. It was like, you can't pigeonhole a genre by what you wear and what you sound and what you look like. It should just be a state of mind. It should be getting a reaction.
Exactly.
And as you know, with Aerotype, I was very good at getting a reaction on stage. And you were pretty good at throwing some fucking one-liners out there too. But it was definitely like a bonding thing, I think, that was even unsaid between the two of the bands. And so, like, is there a moment or something that happened from, say, like Steve joining the band or the Cupcakes EP into Every Last Time that sort of gave you guys a little bit more confidence into doing something that was a bit more of a rock or slowed down?
Yeah, we definitely had our share. I mean, going back, we had a share of people constantly telling us how not punk we were. And you know, our first couple tours, I remember, you know, we were with guys that every day would just tell us how we're not a punk band and why are we even trying? And we're like, well, we're not really trying, and I don't really care what you're even saying to me right now. But yeah, I think that getting to the point where I felt like we were actually good songs, and when I started playing guitar with the band, and we were on fucking Revelation, which was like a kind of, you know, I mean, looking back now, it's you know, it's no great feat really, but it was kind of felt like everything at that time. And I was like, you know, we're doing exactly what we want. We sound how we want. We're on fucking Revelation. Fuck you, you know, if you don't want to be here, then don't be here. And I think just that whole, you know, when we really started acting like a real like rock band, that's when it was like none of the bullshit comments, you know, did anything to me anymore.
Well, it's interesting too, because there was a vast leap in recording quality from when you guys got to Every Last Time. I mean, that record sounds great, and the other records kind of sounded, you know, like punk records that were made live in, like, you know, a couple of days or something. Where Every Last Time,
exactly.
You know, like, especially the, you know, like Pirate Song and My Star. Like, My Star should have been on the radio. It was on the radio, I think, in certain places, but you know, it was like, did you guys get any major label sniffage around during that time, or
just a little, like or very little? And that was before, it was between Three to Get Ready and Every Last Time. We got courted by one serious thing. We may have had like a, you know, a conversation here and there with others, but there was one label where we had a, you know, like an A&R guy that kind of schmoozed us and took us to dinner and put us up in hotel rooms, and, you know, we did that kind of thing. But he got fired, and that was kind of the end of that. But there was there was that time, and that was like when a lot of bands, you know, like we were touring with Texas Is a Reason, and you couldn't get away from them. It was like, you know, every night there was like, we would end up, you know, being able to get a good hotel room because they were getting put up by, you know, Capital or whatever the hell that was, you know, following them around. But yeah, I think we only really had one real brush with that, and it, you know, it obviously it didn't work out, and that's fine.
Yeah. It's so funny you mentioned Texas. Is like, I remember seeing I was online for something at Tower Records. It must have been a signing or a record release or something, and Norm was there, and I was like, oh dude, I heard you guys just broke up. Like, he's like, yeah, we were about to sign with Capitol, but then we decided to break. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You,
Yeah.
you think you're
I
just
know.
gonna like start another band
Yeah.
and it's gonna like happen all of a sudden? And of course, it probably did for all of them. It did for Garrett at least. But like,
Yeah.
it's yeah, that was a really weird time. And so you actually experienced a pretty strange fucking phenomenon for what was going on with those guys. And like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's wild. I mean, I can't even imagine what that was like to experience and just be like, I mean, do you guys get jealous at all? Or were you just like, ah, fuck it, who cares? I'll take advantage of this.
Yeah. I mean, I think we were just like, whoa, this is amazing. And I don't think this is, I mean, yeah, we just wanted to take advantage of it because I didn't see us being in that group of all the bands were getting signed. Like everyone was getting signed at the time. I just didn't see us. I mean, you know, there was definitely some times where, you know, I had stars in my eyes, but if I really thought about it, I just really didn't see us making that leap. So any sort of scraps that came our way, I was like, let's just live it up, you know, like, you know, whatever we can get, let's do it. I remember the A&R guy took us to a Angel game out here, and then we went out to dinner, and then we went to like a record store, and he's like, just, you know, just grab
Get
whatever
what you want.
and we were just like, but so yeah, it was maybe it's a couple months of that, but then and that was over. But that experience was, yeah, and then that'll never happen again. That's for sure.
Well, oddly enough, you guys got better from there. So, which, you know, it's like always on
Yeah,
and
that's the thing.
great.
It's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame that we started getting good after we were too old. I mean, I feel like we did get better and better, and you know, to put out what I think is our best record, you know, in my mid 40s, it's not a good career plan, I guess. But
No, but I mean, it's I understand what you're saying because you're just a better songwriter now. And
yeah,
because you're older and you've been able to sort of like absorb all your influences and do everything, it's a weird
yeah,
thing. It's you know, like I've talked about this with many a person in my interviews because everybody's sort of around my age, if not older, and
yeah,
it's interesting because like when you're young, you get all the hype, and then like, you know,
yeah,
if you're lucky to be that advanced as a songwriter, maybe you'll get somewhere. But then you get
right,
really fucking good as you get older, but you can't get anybody to give you any money to record or put
yeah,
any hype behind you. And it's like, you
yeah,
know, it makes it feel like there's no point to it, but there is a point to it, and it's great, and you should fucking do it anyway. You know, it's like that
totally,
was kind of why we did the last Airtide couple of songs. And it's just like, although we haven't released the other one, but you know,
mm-hmm.
it's just like fuck it. Like, you know, I know what I'm doing now is better than what I did back then. It's just that less
Yeah,
people are going to hear it, and there's no scene to
yeah,
like lean back on. You know,
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, so we're up to now when you and I meet, and Gameface and
okay,
Airtype 11 go on tour together, and so we were. I don't know. I forget where you guys were coming from because we met up in Orlando, Florida, I believe,
okay,
and we had been on tour with Grade down the East Coast,
okay,
and I think you, Grade, and us all played together at Rose's Billiards in Orlando. And I remember
okay,
I had to hold your amps down because the stage was so rickety. We were like
yeah, yeah,
leaning on your
I
amplifiers
do
because
remember
they were gonna
that.
fall off the back. And that was sort of like the first experience we had with you guys. And it was like it was funny because I think it was Todd who kept like jumping harder and harder. You might have been doing it too, just to see how far, like maybe you were gonna break the amps.
Yeah,
But
trying to move them.
yeah, it was that was super fun. I don't like that. That was a night we stayed in these condos and the cops came and kicked us out and shit. I don't know if you were with us. I think you guys had stayed somewhere else and we stayed with Grade. But yeah, then when the next show was in Gainesville, and that was awesome at the Covered Dish, and then like we just kind of went from there, and
Yeah,
it was really kind of love at first sight between the bands. I mean, it was, you know, I've done a couple of tours where like, you know, that we all got along really well. And that's pretty typical for guys in the same age group who are drinking and having fun and playing music. But that tour in particular, and I think, you know, like just I think our senses of humor were similar. Obviously the
yeah,
Drunk Tony tape got us through a lot.
totally. Yeah,
We had Brian Carey
yeah.
to make fun of. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I do remember like going, hey, these guys are just, they're like regular dudes like us, and they're, you know, you guys weren't really trying to, because, you know, we were coming off of being around bands that were really trying to, I don't know, it just, yeah, you guys definitely struck us as very much on our level and real, and kind of sort of saw through what was happening, and really just trying to enjoy what it was that was going on at the moment. And it was kind of refreshing, and I felt instantly, you know, kind of at ease with all you guys. That was dope.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, we were definitely trying to do something. I don't know, it was very misguided, but you know, it was you know, I think it was before Amplified to Rock came out, which is when we kind of amped it up a bit. But yeah, man, it was like, it was just like, it was a very inspiring tour. Like, you know, just watching you guys every night, and the songwriting was great. I mean, I remember one night, like the guys from Newfound Glory came out, and they were like in the front row and like singing every word. And I was like, this is weird. I think they had a show with San Antonio, actually. I just, for some reason, no matter how much we drank, I kind of remember a lot about that tour. But, yeah, man, it was just great. And of course so for people who don't know, that tour generated a split EP that we had decided upon we were going to do while we were on that tour. And there was this fucking tape that a friend of Steve's had recorded his drunk friend, Tony, calling him from a party. I'm gonna totally at a party, bro. And they gave it.
And how far away was it? Just a fucking hop, skip, and a short piss.
And it's so funny how many of those fucking stupid sayings have stuck with me through the years. Like, where, you know, I mean, it helped that I played with Adam for years, and then Steve joined and whatnot. But like, it was like, that shit was the funniest shit ever. So if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, it's an EP called What's Up, Bro, and it's on Revelation Records. And it's a split. We each did a cover. They did a Tom Petty cover. We did a Split Ends cover, and then 2 originals each. But in the middle of it is Gameface playing an extended version of their song with Drunk Tony over the top of it. And it's about 9 minutes long. It's a difficult listen. Listen to it privately. Don't listen to it in public. It's difficult unless you're in a band.
Very well. It's definitely not as appropriate for these times, but still.
No. Dude,
I mean, it's good.
I get drunk at my bar all the time, and I'll put it on. I'm like, no, you got to hear this. It's so funny. And people are just like, I'll be like, I'll put my foot on the computer, bro. Like,
I mean, the thing is as long as it's been in existence, no one thinks it's as funny as our bands. Like, I think that the 8 of us, like, it was so, it meant so much to us that it was an excuse to write all these other songs so we could just put out that thing. But like, even doing that and putting it out there, and it's out in the world, no one has really like come up to me and gone on and on and on about how funny it is, except for you guys. So maybe there's something wrong. There could be something wrong with just us that we're so obsessed with it, because no one has quite been as obsessed as us.
I think it was a moment, and it was very much a bonding moment because it was ours. Like, no one else had really heard it, and all I wanted to do was meet the people involved. Which eventually I never met Drunk Tony, but the other guy, what was his name? Fucking, that guy was awesome. Simply stunning. Johnny, of course, Johnny. He's fucking awesome. Like, that was like, it was such an amazing moment to meet Johnny. I was like, oh my God, I'm like meeting Johnny. This is incredible. This guy's like the shit.
Yeah. Gotta be a little starstruck when you meet the actual the straight man.
Johnny Doyle. It's a straight man.
But yeah, it was pretty epic. That was.
No, it was one of the best tours I've done, and it's funny because a lot of the great tours I've done with California bands, and like Sam I Am, you know, it's just like laid back and chill and like fun stuff, and just the whole thing was like just making fun of each other constantly and having some sort of bonding moment that was super cool. So after that tour, you guys, I think Paul left the band. Did Paul leave the band at that point? Shortly after?
Yeah, no, well, we actually got through the recording of Always On with Paul, but before the album came out, that's when he decided that was it for him. And you know, and especially with all this water under the bridge and looking back, that it was the right time for him. And you know, I got no problems with, you know, with that at all. But yeah, he stuck around for that recording.
I remember a few incidents on the tour we were on together that were particularly with him and maybe Todd, but you know, it's Todd, so it's like, Todd Trout is a very special human being and a gigantic Tom Petty fan. So you guys record Always On, and it's still a couple of years before you call it quits. So at that point,
yeah,
I believe it was we were in. No, we hadn't gone through Instruction yet, but it was 1 year before we did, and then it was a couple of years later that Steve joined. But I don't think that was till like 2004 or so. So you guys were broken up at that point.
We made it to like 2003, and we squeaked out one more kind of a clunker of an album. Our last before the breakup was called Four to Go, appropriately titled. But and that one, that was really, I mean, I have a lot of feelings about that record. I don't love it. I mean, I think there's some good songs, but just the time when everything was happening, the relationships between the band members, things that were going on in our individual lives, nothing was really kind of syncing up, and we sort of imploded just before that album came out. So that was kind of, you know, we were done in, I don't remember exactly when, but it was probably 2003. And I know that Steve was really looking for something more. He wanted to, you know, be on the road. He wanted to, you know, and so that was a perfect time for him to join Instruction.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, I mean, that was, unfortunately, he joined us right at the worst time possible, but you know, so be it. But at least we brought him into Aerotype, so we had a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
It all worked out in the end. So at that point, like, did you just like turn around, you concentrate on, you know, I think you probably hadn't had a kid yet, but
no, not quite yet. And that was part of the thing too. Like me and, this is for another interview, but me and my wife took a long time for us to get pregnant, and that was something that was very important, and that was a lot of the source of the sort of frustration that I was dealing with at the time. And so we did not. We had Melody was born in 2004, so
okay.
But yeah, it was kind of like band implodes. I take a little break. I write a schmaltzy solo record and chill, and then we have, you know, start our family, and that, you know, and so that's where we were during the mid 2000s, I guess.
Okay. And like, I mean, so, and you were working on your career and like, you know, just doing all that shit, and you were still at Revelation at that point?
No, but by I think 2001 or something like that, I had started at the company that I'm at now. It's a graphic design agency that does work for movies. You know, we do movie posters and packaging design. It's all like entertainment based, but I've been there for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Or about 20. Yeah.
Have you done graphic design for other bands besides yourself and outside of Revelation? Like, tell me about like what cover stuff you did. I mean, I always loved the What's Up Bro stuff. I thought that was fucking such a great packaging. And Thanks. A 10 inch vinyl.
Right. Yeah. That was one of the goals. I wanted to make sure and check that off the list. So we made sure that we could, you know, put out that format.
And the only record I've ever gotten a royalty from.
Oh yeah.
Revelation sent me a royalty check.
Nice. I don't know if we get one. But I do remember we went way over budget with our recording. Jason Upright, who he was the label manager.
Too good looking for his own good. That guy.
He is a very handsome man. Still is. His desk was right next to mine, and I remember like after we recorded and everything was turned in, we couldn't make eye contact because he was so mad that we went so far over budget. And I said, have you listened to the songs? They sound great. He's like, well, I don't care because you guys are like way over budget. And so I remember like a couple of days we didn't even speak to each other at work. But so yeah, that might be why we haven't seen any royalties from that.
It could be, yeah. Could be. I don't.
But yeah, that's. So yeah, I was the company that I started working for. Like after leaving Revelation, I'm still there today. But I still do occasional art for bands and stuff. Not as much as I used to, but I still do every once in a while. But when I was, around when I was working at Revelation, I also did stuff for Dr. Strange Records and a few other small labels. Nothing of mention. Nothing. But all of it was cool, but it just nothing big.
What's your inspiration when you're designing a record cover? Do you listen to the music and go, oh, this sounds like this or that, or is it just like something you're just like, hey, I have like these 3 cool ideas, and do you guys like this, and should I go in that direction? Does it matter what the band sounds like?
Not as much as you'd think. Yeah, like I do. I will. And this goes for what I do at work, at real work too, with movies and things too. It's like with the little information I can get from the band about what their vibe is, what they don't even really have to tell me very much, but I'll just say, well, we can do A, B, or C, and I'll make, I'll come up with a couple ideas. Hopefully one of those ideas, spark something in the band. But yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Like, I just sort of just try to get inspired by. I mean, sometimes it's just like a song title or a album title or just some sort of vibe. Like, hey, how about, what do you think of this old '60s album? Can we do something that kind of lifts this idea, or like what this sounds like? We should take all the typography and run through a copy machine and then cut and paste, and then we'll see what it looks like after that. Like, I do like to think of every project as an opportunity for me to like bring an idea to the band that they maybe haven't thought of yet. But when I was working at Revelation, I would say 9 times out of 10, the band had a pretty clear idea of what they wanted to do, and I was just the guy like just putting it together. I was just the dude at Subway putting on the right amount of pickles and olives, and and there's nothing wrong with that. But I was just like, here it is. Let me know what you want me to change. But that was basically the 9 to 5. But every once in a while, you'd get, you get an opportunity to try to push something different on a band, or something that they maybe wouldn't have thought of, or something that kind of looks a little bit out of their genre. But
it's which personally I love. Although I've learned my lesson since I opened St. Vitus, where it was just like, hey, there's a skull in the logo. A skull in the logo. Oh, that's so. Everybody has a skull in the logo. It's like, you know what? Maybe it's time I actually dressed like everybody else, and didn't shave my head when everybody had their hair long, and did, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like a skull in the logo. That's great. That's universal. Fantastic. Let's go. It's like, it's different. Yeah. It's from your band to like a business that you borrowed a bunch of money for is a totally different ball game. Yeah. You have to think a lot more practically.
Yeah.
In band world, you're just like, there's no practicality at all. What are your feelings about like what's happened to artwork though, and like album art? Because it really doesn't mean shit anymore. And it's like, it kind of, there's no more iconic covers anymore.
I know. Well, fortunately, like the resurgence of vinyl is great, and I love doing, if there's an opportunity to do some sort of special thing for that. But yeah, it is the album cover, and also because people are pumping out digital singles all the time, and so I'll do digital singles for friends, bands, and stuff, and they're like, they're this big, or they're this big, and it just there's no, you can't really get in and see detail and stuff. But yeah, it is kind of a bummer. But I do, yeah. I just look for projects that I can kind of go a little old school on, and think of, like when Gameface did our last record. We didn't get, I didn't get too crazy, but there was a little. If you got the LP, like, it was the insert was cut a little bit differently, and I got to go pretty detailed on a lot of illustration and that kind of stuff. I live for that stuff.
Yeah, and you have the ability to do it yourself, so obviously it's you're not paying anybody to do it, so it's it's a lot easier.
That makes a lot of, yeah. I mean, for better or worse, like, I've always just been the art department for the band, and most of the time, or I would say most all the time, everyone's really cool with whatever I want to do, and so and probably pretty happy that they've got someone in the band that they can just knock it out.
Do your covers for Gameface reflect any lyrical content or stuff? Or, I mean, back in the day, yes, they did, but like the more modern stuff, yay or nay?
The last, Now's What Matters Now, that record, the front, it's like this, it's a very detailed illustration, just the black and white. That's really all about lyrical content. Like, we even had a little contest for anyone who could check out the cover and find all, like, I think there's probably like 30 references to past, there's to like the Gameface lexicon, like there's references to old songs, there's references to all kinds of stuff within that thing. And that was like definitely a labor of love for me. It took me a long time to kind of sort that out, but yeah, like that one was all about the old references. But then the photo on the back cover, it's the band photo, but we're all out in the ocean, look at the water kind of up to our chest, a little bit of a metaphor, and getting to that point in our life where things are kind of bubbling up to just keeping our head above water and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a cool, like, it's your Derek Riggs Iron Maiden influence, like Somewhere in Time with references.
That stuff you can really sit for hours and like all the Yes covers and the Maiden covers, Judas Priest, like all that stuff that really, like, that in itself, that's a nice little journey. But yeah, people aren't doing that much anymore in the way of in the way of telling a story with the artwork.
Yeah,
I guess people just don't have time for it. Yeah, people aren't going to look at it. If they don't have time to look at it, and if they do, it's gonna it's only this big on their phone.
Right. Totally. I mean, it's that's super cool, and I mean, it's fun. I sang on that record, and I thank you for that opportunity to do it.
Yeah,
and the songs on it were fucking awesome. A really funny story: when I was recording the vocals for that, I was doing it with a guy named Travis Bacon. And like, he only really knew me as Artie from St. Vitus and Primitive Weapons and whatnot. And so he's like it started playing, and he's like, "You gonna sing this?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude." I was like,
and you crushed it too. Like, you sang the high harmonies on the choruses, which, like, I don't even know if I could do. And so when we got that back, I was like, "This is fucking brilliant!" That made the song for me.
It was high as fuck, man. But like, I was like, "Put me in again. I want to do that." Yeah, put me in again. Like a 6-pack later, I'm like, "I can do anything. Let's go." But it was super fun recording it. It was just funny. Like, it was sort of like one of the first times that anybody in my world in the Vitus world had sort of encountered that whole thing. I'm not sure if Airtype had played Vitus at that point. Oh yeah, we did, because we opened for Shiner, and then we opened for Braid later on that night. But I can't remember what fucking year that was. It's like 2000. I thought it was 2014. But yeah. So explain to me why you guys got back together. Like what? Like how did that all happen?
I mean, yeah, I think we just got to the point where all of the stuff, all of the things that drove us apart, they didn't matter anymore. Like I think we just had to get through that part of our lives, like the career and the family and all that stuff that sort of back in 2002 or 2003, we kind of felt like we had to choose either or.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 10 years later, there's really no choice anymore. We're already in it. And like, and so it was a good like way to bring everything back to just the reason why we loved to play together in the first place. There's nothing else. There wasn't any sort of expectation for touring or being successful or really anything at all. It just came back to just the reason why we started doing it in the first place. And so it was helpful for us to get together a couple times just to talk and hang without even playing music, just to see, if we were cool to kind of be in the same room again. And so once that felt right, and then it happened that the Revelation, where they were doing their 25th anniversary year. And so that was kind of like, it was like the right moment to do it. And so that was like, okay, let's do this. Let's just play and our first practice back was like, hey, let's just play the Every Last Time album. Like, let's only play those songs. Let's, come prepared and we'll learn them all. And for the first, couple of times we got back together, we were only playing that. And we thought, okay, this would be great. We could do one of those album shows or whatever. But then as we started to put some stuff on the calendar, like the Revelation thing, and we were going to go to the East Coast and play, or then we started, the set list started broadening a little bit. And then I was like, okay, don't do any new material, because I don't want to be one of those bands that comes back and tries to do, that never works out. The reunion record's always terrible. Let's don't do that. But then of course I wrote one song, and then I was like, that's actually pretty good. And then it was just something happened, and I just kind of went fucking, everything just clicked, and we wrote an entire album. And yeah, it was really the easiest and most fun experience, because we were getting, like, people were stoked that we were back. It wasn't, we didn't come back to like Jawbreaker status or Texas is the Reason status, but we came back to people being like, oh, I'm stoked you guys are back. And so it was enough to sort of push us to want to make something cool.
Yeah, and it got you to go to Japan and South America.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like once we really, once we committed to it, the good things came to us. And so and I always, when I always talk to Kirby, my wife, about like, if this is the reason why we stuck it out for this many years, like to be able to have these little moments where we get to go to Japan or Brazil, or somebody pays us to play a show, fly to play a show or whatever. If those types of moments happen, that's really makes it all, makes all of the sweating it out in the van for months on end back in the old days. It makes all that, it makes it all worth it. And also, and all the people that we still know that we knew back then, all the people that we've met, like all those relationships make it all worth it too. And so,
Andy Diamond.
Hopefully it's not over. Hopefully we get to do a few more things. I would love to eventually do that album tour where we play the Every Last Time record or whatever. But yeah, like now it's all like, there's no other reason to play except for just the love of playing, and so
right.
it makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot less. There's no pressure. There's no expectation. And so when we were, back in the old days, I would kind of freak out about like, oh, like, is this going to be the last time we play? And am I going to have a terrible memory because because only 10 people showed up and this is terrible. But I don't know. Yeah. Like now all those memories are great. You know, even all the shitty memories are great. And so it's really, it's from here on out, it's all a bonus. So if we can get a few more of those, great. If we don't, it's also fine.
I had a similar experience with Airtype when we first did our stuff, and it was just like, we'd be like, maybe we should just like go out to dinner and not bother playing. You know, it was just like, it was more fun to hang out. Like at rehearsal, we probably played each song once and then bullshitted for 2 hours. You know, it's just like
that's our thing too, for sure.
It's like you don't realize how bonded you are to those people and the time that you spent and the experiences that you had that a lot of other people didn't have. You know, it's like, it's one thing to be super successful and like I feel like a lot of the people like that aren't necessarily terribly bonded once money gets really involved. And it's like, but like the people who really slog it out and just kept doing it for the love of doing it. And for this like dream that maybe someday somebody will pay us to go to Japan. Wouldn't that be fucking cool? I mean, that was really, when I first started, traveling was really my main thing. And it was like, if I play music, I can travel for free, essentially.
Yep.
You know, and like that was great. And, you know, I did tons of tours of Europe before I ever toured America. And it was like, you know, like, wow, what an incredible experience. And, you know, like the kids on Long Island were all like, whoa, you're able to do that? That's crazy. So it's you know, like no one had ever known that was a possibility for, you know, these little shit local bands that could do shit. And it's fucking, yeah, it's like, it's definitely something to be proud of. You don't have to think about it too much, but it's cool that you have these friendships and these bonding experiences and you meet people all over the world. I mean, I know you guys have as well. I mean, we met and we're lifelong friends. And you just meet people who you're lifelong friends with, and it's fucking crazy, you know? Yeah. All because of the hardcore scene.
Totally. I didn't go, I mean, I went to a little bit of college, but I didn't have that college experience, you know, that people always talk about, all my college buddies. But this being, you know, doing this band, this is my, you know, that's my version of that. And like, I don't give a shit about the people I work with, and I don't, you know, and I don't care about any of the people I went to school with, but the people that I care the most about are these guys that I've spent so many decades doing this and traveling, and the people that I've met. And we've, you know, like coming back to, you know, just being sort of rewarded, even when I go on a little family vacation with me and my little family, we'll, you know, invariably be somewhere where I know someone from the scene or whatever, and we'll meet up, or they'll even let us stay at their house, or like it's all that stuff comes back, and it's invaluable to have that sort of community like that.
Fuck yeah.
And when, you know, like we went to, like, this is going on 10 years ago, we went to England, a little family trip, but I played a few like solo shows, and people were putting us up in their house or at a hotel or something, and it was just a really, I mean, like, it's just a validating feeling, just a warm feeling to go somewhere, especially to another country, and have people that maybe you met back in the day, or maybe you didn't, but they know you because they are part of this thing. And that's magical to me.
Absolutely. So, yeah. I mean, I'm glad we had this conversation, because this whole COVID thing has kind of made me feel like my entire life has been a complete waste of time. But it's just like, there's no support for the arts in this country. And I own a music venue, and, you know, and New York City's getting fucked with bars and restaurants and shit. So it's, you know, it's a rough one. Anyway, but it's great to have an hour to get the fuck out of our heads and just fucking do this. It's going to cut off in a few seconds. I love you, dude. It's great to see you. Thank you for doing this. And
you got it.
Fucking kick ass, bro. Keep fucking doing it. Fight the good fight.
All right, man.
Later,
Peace.
brother. Peace.
Love you.